Okay, think about this for a second. Simple deck of cards. Maybe you've got one sitting in a drawer somewhere, or maybe it just makes you think of those late night family games. Seems pretty basic, right? Traditional. What if I told you that humble deck? It's actually like the heart of this huge and rapidly growing global market. So they were doing a deep dive into the global playing card market. And our main source here is a really thorough report from Cognitive Market Research. It really pulls back the curtain on this everyday thing. So here's the mission for you today. We want to uncover the sort of hidden forces and the big growth drivers behind something you might just think of as, a way to pass the time. But it's actually turned into a multi-billion-dollar industry. Seriously, by the end of our chat, you're going to look at that deck of cards in a whole new way. Okay, so let's unpack this because the scale, the sheer size of this market is kind of mind-blowing. The global playing card market, right, it was valued at over $11 billion. So that was back in 2021. And it's not just staying there. Nope, it's projected to climb past $13.4 billion by 2025, and then really take off, hitting nearly $20 billion by 2033. That works out to a compound annual growth rate in the CAGR of almost 5%. Pretty consistent growth.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here is digging into why. Why that kind of expansion? Playing cards, they're used for so much more than just like a Friday night poker game. They're everywhere. Gaming, sure, but also education, recreation. Their popularity covers the classic games, obviously, but it goes way into casino entertainment, magic shows, which is a big one. And this is crucial. Those modern collectible card games, think Pokemon, Magic, the gaveling. Huge. Plus, you've got this rising interest in tabletop games generally, right? A lot of those use unique card mechanics. Combine that with, people having more disposable income globally and some really smart digital marketing for branded cards. It just creates this kind of perfect storm fueling demand. You see companies using TikTok, Instagram, showing off these amazing designs, limited editions. It makes collecting cards feel like a lifestyle, not just a hobby. Think about brands like Theory 11. They've built a massive following around their premium decks. It's a whole other level now.
That marketing angle is interesting. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting for me. The regional breakdown. You mentioned North America. A lot of us probably grew up with cards there.
Yeah.
How's that familiar market actually holding up according to the data? Well, North America, even though it's seen as established, it's still showing really strong growth. It jumped from over $3.2 billion in 2021, projected to hit $5.5 billion by 2033. The U.S. is definitely the main engine there, largest share, no surprise.
Right, about $2.6 billion in 2021, heading towards maybe $4.3 billion.
Exactly. But Canada's interesting too, contributing quite a bit. It's projected to cross that billion-dollar mark by 2033.
Yeah, from around 520 million up towards $1 billion. That's significant growth.
And in Mexico, while smaller, around 110 million in 2021, heading towards 160 million, still shows that consistent upward trend.
And if we sort of connect this to the bigger picture, both North America and Europe, they're what we'd probably call mature markets, right? Their growth is steady, it's consistent, maybe not quite as explosive as some other places we'll talk about. And that often comes down to, deep cultural roots, familiarity, established traditions around card games. Casinos are a big factor too, of course. It's like stable, predictable growth, mostly from ongoing recreational use. But it's not just tradition holding it up. We're seeing niche communities popping up, online versions of games, things that keep refreshing the interest. It shows there's still room for innovation, even in these really strong historical markets.
That's a great point, the revitalization idea. Okay, so North America, steady strength. How does that stack up against Europe? Card games there go back centuries. Let's look at those numbers. Does that long history translate to current trends? Well, Europe's market, it brought in nearly $2.8 billion in 2021 and is projected to hit over $4.6 billion by 2033. Germany's a standout, projected to nearly double its market value. It's leading the region.
From about 557 million towards 913 million. Yeah, that's substantial.
And other big players, the UK, France, Italy, they also show really solid, consistent growth. Collectively, they're adding hundreds of millions to that European total by 2033.
UK going from 370 million towards 568 million. France, 409 towards nearly 700 million.
Right. And even countries like Russia and Spain, they're seeing very healthy increases too.
Russia, like 267 million up to 503 million. Spain, 290 up to 386 million.
It really reflects this widespread kind of enduring love for card games right across the continent. Switzerland, the Nordics, they're all growing too.
So this raises a key question, doesn't it? What's driving that sustained growth in Europe? Tradition, yeah, that's huge. But like North America, we're also seeing that premium and custom card market really gain traction. There seems to be a strong appreciation for, craftsmanship, unique designs. People want something special. So yeah, it's a mature market, but it's definitely not stagnant. It's evolving, and consumers seem willing to pay a bit more for that quality, that novelty. And that fuels that steady climb.
That evolution is key, definitely. Okay, so we've got North America and Europe showing strong, steady growth, evolving. What does this all mean for the region that isn't just the fastest growing, but is actually the largest playing card market globally?
I have to talk about Asia Pacific.
Yeah, the Asia-Pacific market, it really shows the dynamic shift in this industry. It shot up from over $3.6 billion in 2021, projected to reach nearly $7 billion by 2033. Just huge.
Wow.
$7 billion.
China is absolutely massive here. Its market value is set to more than double in that period.
From 1.27 billion towards 2.35 billion. Incredible number.
And India. India shows really strong growth too. Also projected to more than double, getting close to 1.4 billion by 2033.
From about 580 million, yeah, that's rapid growth.
Japan's a major player as well, set to cross the billion-dollar mark.
Around 646 million, heading over 1.1 billion.
And then you see substantial growth right across the board. South Korea, Australia, Singapore, Southeast Asia generally.
South Korea going from 345 million towards 623 million. Australia, 275 towards 553 million.
It's widespread. This rapid expansion in Asia Pacific, it's fascinating when you break it down. You've got these enormous populations, right? China, India, and you've got rapidly increasing disposable incomes in many of these places. So more money for leisure, for recreation, but maybe even more importantly, many of these countries have incredibly strong, really long-standing cultural traditions around gaming. Think about mahjong, yeah, but also specific regional card games. They're just like woven into the fabric of daily life.
Right, it's not just about importing Western games.
Exactly. It's not just poker. It's this incredibly diverse ecosystem of card-based entertainment that's deeply culturally embedded. So you have this powerful mix, market size, economic growth, and that deep cultural connection. That's why the growth is so explosive there.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so beyond these really big players, North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, it's clear playing cards have reached pretty much everywhere. It shows that universal appeal. Take South America, for instance. Valued at over 740 million in 2021, and it's set to reach almost 1.4 billion by 2033.
Doubling again, nearly.
Pretty much. Brazil is the leader there, projected to almost double its value too.
From about 318 million towards 590 million.
And you see similar strong growth patterns in Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Chile. Consistent expansion across the continent. Then there's the Middle East, also showing impressive momentum. It grew from almost 290 million in 2021, projected over 570 million by 2033.
Another near doubling.
Yep, and countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, they're projected to more than double their market size individually.
Saudi, like 88 million to 174 million. UAE, 51 up to 115 million.
It really points to a growing interest in recreational gaming in the region. Turkey, Egypt, Qatar all growing too. And finally, Africa. This market was valued at over 300 million back in 2021. It's projected to almost double as well, hitting nearly 600 million by 2033.
Wow, okay, so growth across the board, really?
It seems so. Nigeria and South Africa are the big contributors noted here, both showing significant expansion.
Nigeria, 141 million towards 260 million. South Africa, 118 towards 240 million.
It just highlights playing cards becoming more present right across the continent.
What this whole global picture really underscores, I think, is just how universal the appeal is, how adaptable playing cards are. You see them thriving in such incredibly diverse cultures, different economies, and despite all the regional differences in, market size or growth speed, the basic drivers seem pretty consistent. It's recreational use, it's rising incomes, allowing for more leisure spending, and it's just better access, whether that's traditional shops or increasingly online. It really speaks to the enduring power of this simple, versatile thing for entertainment, for connection. It just keeps finding new audiences, new ways to be relevant.
Absolutely. So wrapping this up, what does all this data, all this growth mean for you listening? Well, whether you're just a casual player, maybe someone who likes a game of solitaire now and then, or perhaps you're a serious collector hunting down those rare custom decks we talked about, or maybe you're just curious about how such a simple household item could be such big business. The playing card market is this really vibrant, expanding example of how a traditional product can find totally new life and serious growth in today's economy. It's kind of amazing, isn't it, how these little bits of paper built this massive global industry. So after hearing all that, what really stands out to you about the staying power and maybe the unexpected growth of playing cards?
Well, building on what the report mentioned about modern collectible card games and that impact of digital marketing of branded cards, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How will the constant evolution of gaming, of digital platforms, keep shaping the physical playing card market? I mean, will physical cards stay totally separate, that tangible thing you hold, or will digital innovation start to blend more with the physical, fuel it in new ways we haven't even thought of yet? Like, could you imagine physical decks with, I don't know, integrated augmented reality features?
Yeah.
Or maybe online communities driving these super specific, hyper limited physical print runs. It's a really fascinating space to keep an eye on.
Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a market that, well, it might seem a bit old-fashioned at first glance, the global playing card market.
Right.
We're going to be unpacking some key insights from a really interesting report, The Global Playing Card Market in 2025. And our mission, really, is to uncover the hidden dynamics, the unexpected growth drivers. Basically, what's keeping this industry not just alive, but actually thriving in our digital age.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this.
It's funny, isn't it, how often we just overlook the complex forces and industries we see every day? Playing cards.
Totally.
And this report, I think it really reveals this fascinating mix of, tradition and real innovation. That blend seems to be the key to why they're still so relevant.
That blend is definitely what caught my eye. So if
Yeah.
you think about just a simple deck of cards, what are the core reasons the report gives for them sticking around, especially with screens everywhere?
Well, the report points to about four main things. There's nostalgia, obviously, then just simple, casual social demand, educational uses, and actually quite a bit of creative innovation happening.
Okay.
But the main driver, it seems, is still that social entertainment piece. I mean, think about poker, rummy, bridge, even solitaire. They're just staples.
Absolutely. Part of family gatherings, holidays.
Exactly. And they're affordable. You can take them anywhere. They're easy to learn. That makes them perfect for just informal fun, especially about, in places maybe without great internet or among older people.
I can picture that. Like you see them as a huge part of family life in India or Southeast Asia, right? Or just that classic thing you bring on a camping trip or a long train journey in, say, the US or Europe.
Yeah, exactly. It's that universal, almost timeless thing, isn't it? They really cut across cultures and, well, income levels too.
They really do. That low barrier to just connecting with people. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The report talks about this paradox. How digital card games, like apps on your phone, are actually boosting interest in physical cards. How does that even work?
It sounds counterintuitive, right? But yeah, it's a pretty compelling trend. These online games, maybe Zynga Poker, just a simple solitaire app,
Sure.
they often act as the first touch point, especially for younger people, millennials, Gen Z. They learn the game, find out it's fun digitally.
And then they want the real thing.
And then, yeah, surprising numbers seem to seek out actual physical decks. They want that tactile feel, maybe a break from the screen. It seems there's this growing desire to kind of unplug, but still get that same mental buzz or social connection.
So the digital version becomes like a discovery tool for the analog one. That
Yeah.
makes sense. And what about nostalgia? Does that play in differently, maybe pulling in collectors or older folks with like vintage designs?
Oh, absolutely. You hit on a really key point there. Nostalgia adds this whole other layer, this emotional connection. You see these vintage style decks or careful reproductions of old classics.
Yes, some are beautiful.
They become more than just a game. They're collectibles. They trigger memories. That really resonates with older users and also enthusiasts who want that, authentic, tangible object.
But the report shows it goes beyond just fun and games or collecting. It talks about playing cards being used more in education, even cognitive therapy.
Yeah.
How are they making that leap?
Yeah, that really highlights just how versatile they are as non-digital tools. You have educators using specially designed decks to help kids with numbers, memory, strategic thinking.
Like pattern recognition and stuff.
Exactly, helping young learners grasp concepts. And then in cognitive therapy, especially with older patients, maybe those dealing with dementia, cards can help maintain mental sharpness, even motor coordination.
Wow, that's quite a shift for such a traditional item. Does the report get into the sort of market impact of that? Is it a big segment now?
It's more about the trend, the qualitative observation. But you definitely see growing demand from schools, from healthcare providers. It suggests it's becoming a notable niche. And that non-digital aspect is crucial there. It makes them really accessible.
Right, good point. Okay, but obviously it can't all be positive.
Sure.
What are the main challenges the playing card market is bumping up against?
Well, the biggest one, no surprise, is just the sheer pull of digital entertainment and, frankly, screen addiction.
Mhm.
Physical cards sometimes struggle to compete, right? Online games have the instant rewards, the flashy avatars, the
Yeah,
leaderboards.
that immediate feedback loop.
Exactly. Things that are just harder to replicate with a physical deck.
And I guess the fact that a good deck lasts forever,
Mm.
that's great for me, but maybe not so great if you're trying to sell lots of them.
That's a huge factor.
Yeah.
The low frequency of repeat purchases. A decent quality deck is really durable, unless you lose it or wreck it somehow.
You don't need another one for ages.
Right, so that limits volume sales, except maybe for casinos or people who buy them as gifts a lot. It really pushes manufacturers to get creative, to find ways to make people want a new deck, maybe through design or collectability.
And when a basic deck is, well, just a basic deck, how do companies even build loyalty? It feels like they could easily become just a commodity.
And that is the commoditization problem. For standard, everyday cards, it often just comes down to price, maybe a slightly different picture on the back.
Yeah.
If there's no real functional difference, people just buy whatever's cheapest or easiest to grab. That means really intense competition, especially at the lower end of the market.
Okay, so given those challenges, the digital competition, the durability, the commoditization, how is the industry fighting back? What are the key trends, the innovations injecting some new energy?
This is where it gets pretty creative. One of the biggest trends is definitely the rise of these luxurious, artistic, collectible decks. We're talking collaborations with artists, limited runs with foil printing, custom fonts, really fancy packaging.
Right, like those Theory 11 decks or illusionists. They look incredible. Are those actually moving the needle, according to the report?
Oh, definitely. They've successfully created this whole market segment aimed at collectors, magicians, people who appreciate design. They're selling them almost like art objects. That's a powerful way to stand out.
Makes sense, elevating the product.
Exactly. And speaking of values, another big trend is sustainability.
How does that work with playing cards? Recycled paper.
Yeah, exactly. Decks made from recycled materials, using soy-based inks instead of petroleum, biodegradable packaging. This really appeals to environmentally aware consumers, particularly in Europe and North America. You might even see like reusable tuck boxes.
Smart. Tapping into that conscious consumerism, I've also noticed just a ton of themed decks out there now. Is that part of this innovation push too?
Yes, absolutely. That demand is really growing. Harry Potter cards, decks with historical art, mythology themes, specific educational ones.
Right.
Companies are targeting very specific interests. And these decks aren't just for playing bridge, right? People use them for learning as gifts, even in tabletop RPGs sometimes. And specialty shops, plus obviously e-commerce, have made it much easier to find these niche products from anywhere.
Okay, one last big area. How is this market dealing with broader global stuff? The report mentions the 2025 Liberation Day tariffs from the U.S. That's a big deal in trade policy. How does that ripple down to playing cards?
Yeah, it really shows how interconnected everything is, even a deck of cards. Those tariffs aimed mainly at rebalancing trade, particularly with China. They forced companies that relied heavily on Chinese manufacturing to really rethink
So
things.
they're looking elsewhere.
Exactly. The report mentions companies actively exploring options in India, Vietnam, Eastern Europe, places like that. It's about reducing that tariff hit and just diversifying where they make things. Classic supply chain strategy, really.
And I bet that, plus inflation and everything else, is pushing up costs.
It is. Raw materials, packaging, costs are rising because of trade issues and general inflation. So firms are having to get smarter about design to save material, and they're relying more on digital tools to forecast demand and set prices accurately, trying to stay competitive.
So painting the picture of the players, who are the big names holding down the fort, and who are the newer, maybe more nimble companies making waves?
It's a really interesting mix. You've got the giants like Cardamom Dune, they own Bicycle and Bee, huge household names dominating the mass market. Then you have established European players like Piatnik,
Arsenal
Copon.
Classics.
But a lot of the excitement, the design innovation comes from those indie creators we mentioned, Theor 11, Swarm, A+ playing cards. They're really owning those premium niche segments.
Hmm.
And you also have the big Asian manufacturers like Shanghai Yaoji, Ningbo 3A Group, often making cards for other brands. And don't forget entertainment companies like Nintendo doing their own licensed decks. It's a varied field.
It really is amazing how something as simple as unassuming as a deck of cards turns out to be this microcosm of global economics, social trends, human creativity, this whole deep dive. It really sheds light on
Yeah.
how much complexity there is in something we just, take for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we connect this to the bigger picture, what this deep dive really shows is how even the most traditional things, the most established objects, can find ways to adapt, to innovate, and stay relevant. It's kind of a lesson in resilience, isn't it?
It really is.
How industries can pivot and find new meaning as the world changes. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? As you go through your day, maybe think about how many other everyday items might be going through similar quiet transformations. What can these little micro markets tell us about the bigger patterns of how we adapt, how culture shifts, and how economies evolve? It's something interesting to consider.